Once more, thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being part of the show. Please, as usual, go ahead and hit your share button. Let us quickly populate the platform if you are watching by way of the social media. I'd like to welcome all of you watching by way of television from Ambazonia and Africa as a whole. I come to you with very, very exciting but some other painful information to talk about tonight. I am thinking about the burnings in Bamenda, particularly in Atuakum. We want to send our sympathies and empathies to the victims involved in that fire incident. We don't know what led to that fire outbreak. Nobody has so far taken responsibility for that. But we know there are people out there in pain in Bamenda. Bamenda is hard hit. When it is not by the colonial forces, it is by the ADF fighters. But I want everybody in Bamenda to know this too will be overcome. Again, this too will be overcome. Remain as strong and courageous as you have always been out there in Bamenda. And this will be over. This will be over. I can assure you. Once more, we really want to send our strong sympathies, especially on behalf of this interim government, to the people in Bamenda and Atuakum and the victims of that fire incident in particular. We hope that in the days ahead, investigations will be made and the perpetrators will be brought to book. In the meantime, we pray that God will open new doors for you, those of you who lost your businesses in that fire incident. We pray that God will open doors for you and give you new directions in your life and maybe in your business too. That is the only thing that we can say from here. It is a very, very unfortunate situation, what happened, ladies and gentlemen, in Tuakum. I think you can see the images there coming from Tuakum of the devastation that took place there. Whosoever is responsible, again, we do not know yet. We do not know yet, but we are investigating to find out exactly who was behind this arson in Atuakum, Bamenda, Atuakum in Bamenda. So, but we send our sympathies and empathies to the victims involved, and we hope that you will get a quick reprieve and the perpetrators of this will be brought to book. All right, and that is it, ladies and gentlemen, coming from Atuakum. Before I take you to the main subjects tonight I'm going to be talking about the so-called taxi color change, which is being forced upon the people of Bamenda. Of course, I will be going back to the subject of the revolution taking place in Kenya. But also very important is the karma, I call it karma, nemesis, that has started to befall the ADF fighters in Bamenda. We stand unapologetically, ladies and gentlemen, that any so-called Amba fighter who turns the gun against the civilian becomes an enemy to the civilians, and they must be pursued and smoked out wherever they hide themselves. Again, and if this were any fighters in Ambazonia, I will say the same thing. I condemn them everywhere where they take up guns against the civilians. So I will come to that subject, very, very, very critical, very, very important. And I hope that the rest of the ADF fighters in Bamenda will begin to learn their lessons. First, they are chased out of Batibo, and now Bamenda is beginning to chase them out, not only killing them, but burning them. burning them. I'm going to be coming to that subject tonight. So please stay put. But before I get there, before I get to that subject, I just want to remind all of you out there, ladies and gentlemen, of our ID cards. Our ID cards, I'm referring to the Amber ID cards. I can't emphasize this enough. I can't emphasize this enough that we now have those cards produced. We now have the Amber ID cards printed, produced. And again, these are very durable. What I mean by the word durable is that these cannot be counterfeited. These are not cheap to produce or to photocopy. Nobody can steal your ID card and photocopy it or try to remove the image. Maybe they may be able to, I don't know what they can do, but I don't think they can print another image on top of this. So these things are not copyable. They are not duplicatable. So these are very, very durable. Ladies and gentlemen, they are very durable. They come with a barcode. You can see this QR, they call it Q, is it QA or what code? Right here. That code tells you nobody can duplicate this, nobody can steal this, because if it is stolen and this barcode here is scanned, the barcode comes up with the information and the photograph of the original owner. And so if you stole it and they scan it, your face will not show up. The face of the thief won't show up by the face of the original owner of the ID card. And so again, these are very durable. They cannot be duplicated. They cannot be photocopied. The card or the material on which it is made is very, very, very strong. Not a cheap card that we see, the cheap ID cards that are made in La République du Cameroon. Absolutely not. We love quality here. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are hoping that going forward, every Ambazonian would want to acquire this, if it means for nothing but for the prestige of carrying an Ambazonia ID card. An Ambazonia ID card. And you can find this. You have the link on your right there on your screen. www.ambazoniaidcard.com. You need an ID card. You need to purchase one. They go for $50. $50 only, and it doesn't matter where you live, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in the USA, in North, South America, only $50, and that $50 includes postage to whatever location that you are. So, again, you can locate the website ambazoniaidcard.com. ambazoniaidcard.com. When you get to the website, when you log onto the website, you are required to create an account. Now, that account is important because it keeps your information, and only you have access to that account that contains your information. Not even the webmaster has access to your account. Only you has access to your account. Now, the moment you create your account, then you then have access to the application form for the ID. You fill the form, upload your passport size photograph, and there are instructions. You have to follow the instructions to make sure you are uploading the correct looking and size of your passport size for the ID. Very, very important, because I understand that some applications have been rejected because the passport photo did not meet the recommended sizes. So you got to read the instructions, fill the form, upload your passport size photograph, and then what you do next is make your payment. And after you do that, you don't have to do any other thing else. If your application passes through or goes through, is accepted, you will receive an email letting you know your application has been accepted, and so you should be waiting for your ID card to be printed and mailed to you. If your application is rejected, you are told, you are given the reasons for which it is rejected, and you are told exactly what to do to resubmit it for acceptance. It is that easy. And you will not use more than 10 minutes. You won't use more than 10 minutes to fill the form. To create your account and fill the application form and submit it. It is very easy as 1, 2, 3. Devoid of the bureaucracy and the bottlenecks in La Republic du Cameroon, where you go there for a simple ID card and you have to settle about 5 tables. You have to settle about 5 tables to secure an ID card. So I hope that every Ambazonian out there, you want to apply to get your ID card. Again, remember, if you live in the USA, and I believe Europe too, they ask you for 2 forms of identification documents. 2 forms of identification documents. In the US, it is either your green card and your driver license, or any other document. If you don't have a green card, you have to present your driver license. If you don't have a driver license, you should have a green card. But in case you have only one of the above, that is either a driver license and no green card, this can accompany your driver license, because this bears your current residence, your address, your date of birth, the expiration date of this card. It at least identifies you, has your image there, has your picture there, and so it identifies your name, your residence, and exactly where you are coming from, originally from. That is, in this case, Ambazonia. So it can help in that way. In some cases, it is strictly said or stated there must be 2 forms of government issued IDs. So in that case, this will not work. So I just want you to know. Now, I like everybody out there to understand this. I said this last week. These ID cards that we have produced for Ambazonians, these will not be Ambazonia's ID cards. Let me use the word may not be Ambazonia's ID cards when we get to Boya. We like to be very pragmatic in what we do. We're not trying to let you know that, oh, this is Ambazonia's ID card. When we get to ground zero, when we get to Boya, only the people, the government, will sit down to decide what form of ID, what will be the nature of it that will be adopted to serve Ambazonia for eternity. They may decide to say, okay, let's adopt this, or let's keep this and just add some things to it, or take out some things to it. Who knows? But at least for the moment, for this time, this serves a purpose. And if you are out there looking for asylum or trying to apply for some kind of status anywhere in the Western world, this can serve you. For those on ground zero, I'd like you to know it is not very necessary that you order this, because we are very much aware of the security dangers you face on the ground. They find this in your pocket. La Republic du Cameroon occupational army finds this in your pockets on ground zero. You'll be in trouble. You all know that. But if you want to have it, it's all your choice. Just go on the website. The website is right there. The link is there. Very simple. AmbazoniaID.com. AmbazoniaID.com. So all you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is log on to that website, register your account, look for the application form, the ID application form, fill the information, upload your passport size photograph, pay your $50 fee, and sit and wait for it to be mailed to you. This is, again, an original. This is an original. And this comrade, I think, is based out there in Europe. Is based in Europe. Thomas Mbamgong. That is the name. It has the expiration date and so on. All right. So that is that. That is that, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that we all get that. And please spread the news about these ID cards. We promised it for a long time. It took us a while to figure out how to produce it. But finally, we've been able to produce it. Let's make good use of it. Especially if you are in Europe, you are in North America, that including Canada, this can be of good use for those of you who have just come into the country. You don't have any proof to show that you are Ambazonian or Southern Cameroonian. This will be good for you. Again, just go to the log on to the website. You'll find there and create your account, register, and pay. And do not forget, we also have ambadues.com website. Many people have not registered. Ladies and gentlemen, we need you to go on ambadues.com to register. It takes you, we are asking only for 10, I think between 5, 10 and above dollars each month to be able to fund this struggle. We need that support, that contribution to be able to fund this struggle. So I'm pleading with every one of you, get onto Ambadues. Is it Ambadues? Yeah, I believe. Ambadues.com. Get onto Ambadues.com. Support the struggle with your monthly $10 or $20 or $15, whatever amount you know is comfortable to you. Thank you very much for doing so. I'm going to take a few seconds out, and when I come back, I'm going to delve directly into the subject of the day. Karma in Bamenda against the ADF. Karma in Bamenda against the ADF. Stay tuned, I'll be right back, and keep on hitting that share button. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to take you to my first talking point of the day, and right after that, I'm going to bring in my panel to delve into the conversation on the subject, and I am here referring to the attempted change of taxi color in Bamenda, and of course an effort they hope to extend to all of Ambazonia, which we know is flopped. In struggles for freedom and independence, national symbols and traditions can play a crucial role in uniting people and defining identity. That is the reason some want us to believe that changing the taxi color in Ambazonia now is going to achieve. But the idea has stirred a lot of controversy and opposition too. Ambazonians and the general public are reminded that the interim government of Ambazonia stands unyielding in its opposition to any move that undermines the yellow taxi color at this time in our struggle. We state categorically that if that were to happen, this is not the right moment to do so. The interim government affirms that those pushing for the taxi color change cannot be considered as comrades, but as agents of La République du Cameroon, working against Ambazonia's quest for freedom and independence. We agree that the idea of transforming certain symbols into our national colors of white and blue is more than just a practical choice for visibility. It is a symbol of our resistance and identity. It represents the daily struggles of our people and their unwavering commitment to the cause of independence. But again, we cannot emphasize enough that the timing is very, very wrong. It is a good idea at a wrong timing. And killing people and destroying people's property to make it happen is no longer in the spirit of Ambazonia's liberation. This move is an attempt to undermine the unity of our population. Those who advocate for this change are not acting in the best interest of Ambazonia. Instead, they are promoting the agenda of La République du Cameroon, seeking to weaken our resolve. Those who push the idea of changing the yellow taxi color cannot be called comrades. Their actions betray Ambazonia's quest for freedom and align them with the oppressors. By promoting such divisive ideas, they demonstrate that they are working for La République du Cameroon, not for Ambazonia. These individuals seek to sow discord and confusion among our ranks, undermining our collective struggle for independence. It is particularly concerning that some so-called Ambazonian leaders have opportunistically jumped to promote and enforce the idea of changing the yellow taxi color. These individuals are not visionary leaders, not at all. They are opportunists seeking to exploit the situation for their own gain. True leaders have a vision and a deep understanding of the issues that matter to their people at every moment. Those who lack this vision and seek to lay claim to matters they do not understand are mere charlatans. Yes, charlatans. A man who leaves Europe carrying a handbag to sell a country's oil all by himself is not a leader. He's a fraudster. Such actions reflect a lack of vision and a willingness to exploit the struggle for personal gain. Similarly, a leader who uses highway robbers to shut down a major road, denying civilians access, while opening the same road up for the enemy, is not working for Ambazonia's cause. These actions prove that we are not on the same side. True leaders do not betray their own people or compromise their safety for personal or political gain. Drivers in Bamenda and Meza should go about their business as usual, ignoring the charlatans and opportunistic bullies masquerading as leaders. The interim government here calls on all drivers to stand firm and reject all attempts at intimidation. By rejecting their proposals and intimidation, we affirm our commitment to our shared vision and the values that bind us together for a free and independent Southern Cameroon, also called Ambazonia. And that is my first monologue talking point for tonight. Let me add to this, ladies and gentlemen, we got news today. We got news today of the killing of one general Stone, an ADF general. We have learned is the one who was going around in Bamenda, destroying people's taxis, shooting people's taxis. We learned today that he was, the civilians came together and exposed his hideout, and he was not only killed, but burned to death. I understand that two of them were actually burned, but that is what happened. And I think the ADF is somehow confirming it, because I got this footage from the ADF with their logo on it, confirming the assassination of that rogue general. The image is there. All right, we also have these other images emerging from that scene. As you see in that image, you can see where the guy was burnt. You can see where he was burnt. I have other videos I cannot show you. They don't look too good to put on television. But you can find it. You can find it there. You can find it there. That is what happened in Bamenda, according to the ADF. That was yesterday. That happened yesterday. Again, those are the images emerging from the killing of that ADF general, so-called General Stone in Bamenda. Now, we have also seen the report on a website which normally publish some trustworthy news. I'm here referring to the website Cameroon News Agency. Cameroon News Agency is reporting the killing of the so-called General Stone, and according to the Cameroon News Agency, security forces conducted an operation at a residence in Alakuma, Bamenda, the Bamenda 2 subdivision on June 30th, 2024. The operation reportedly targeted a man identified as Stone Corner, a suspected leader within Now, this is a problem. They say within the Ambazonian movement, we don't recognize them. He's a talk. He's not a leader, nor a fighter. But that's what the report says. It says that details remain unclear, but reports indicate that security forces surrounded the residence and gunfire was exchanged. It is alleged that 2 individuals were killed during the operation, with their bodies subsequently burned at the location. The government, nor the separatists, according to this story I'm reading here, have not commented on the incident, but several state-sponsored agents, that is, La République du Cameroon surrogates, they say they jubilated by posting the face of the deceased fighter, saying he was a member of the ADF. So that is what happened in Bamenda, ladies and gentlemen. That happened yesterday. And again, I want to restate this plain and clear, that what the people in Bamenda are doing, we here at this interim government completely endorse it. Again, we completely endorse what the civilians in Bamenda have done with the capture of the so-called General Stone. Again, I will say this again and again and again, and unapologetically. Any so-called fighter carrying a gun who turns the gun against the population should be eliminated. He is a blackleg. He is an enabler. He is no different from any of these. He is no different from any of these. Because when we picked up guns from the beginning of this struggle, we picked up guns to turn them against the enemy, who is La République du Cameroon. La République du Cameroon, not Ambazonians. But lately we have seen this phenomenon happening in Bamenda, where the ADF so-called fighters take up arms and turn them against the civilians. If they fight, they are fighting civilians. If they kill civilians. You don't see a single corpse, ladies and gentlemen, lying on the streets of Bamenda, wearing La République du Cameroon uniforms, killed by the ADF. No, when you see dead people like you saw the Mbengui Road bomb, was it 2 days ago? Again, they are attacking civilians and not the enemy. And I bet you, for as long as I am here, I will not see that continue to happen. We will fight it, and Ground Zero must fight it until the ADF either make a turnaround and fight as other fighters are out there fighting, ladies and gentlemen. If they don't make a turnaround and fight just the same as other fighters are out there sacrificing their lives, then they should be eliminated. They should be eliminated, and the civilians should give them up. I hear that today was supposed to be the day they enforce a taxi color change. Listen, I know Bamenda is strong, courageous, and smart enough to withstand all intimidation. They cannot do that for 1 week. They cannot stand the intimidation for 1 week. And so if they intimidate you, they carry guns, come to you to intimidate you, stay home, park your car at home, park your vehicle home, stay home, and I bet you in a few days, you won't see them anymore, because they are cowards. Cowards don't carry their plan to the logical end. That's just what they do, and that's what they are. All right, I'm going to bring in my guests here to weigh in on this before we move to the next subject of this broadcast. I am being joined here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Dr. Fontaine is joining me. Good to see you, Doctor. If you can bend your camera slightly, please. Wonderful. A little more. Good, perfect. Good to see you, Doctor. And I also have Comrade Mark Chaps is also joining from Canada. Thank you for joining the broadcast, Comrade. All right. Let me start with you, Dr. Niba, about this, what we are seeing in in Bamenda, and this taxi color change thing. I have always thought that the idea is not bad in itself. The idea is not bad in itself. My problem is with the timing. We have so many targets on the ground that we can go after. We have we have said, I mean, we've been singing for how many years now? 6 or 7 years, Operation Frogs Leave Ambazonia. Who has enforced that? These guys carry guns. They will never enforce that. When we declare lockdowns in ghost towns in Ambazonia, the ADF will join us to declare it, but they never come out once to enforce those lockdowns. If we declare lockdowns, we have to make sure that we find a way of enforcing it. You will not see the ADF out there trying to enforce it. You have a lot of political Cameroon businesses in Bamenda, everywhere in Ambazonia. The ADF hasn't gone after one to send them packing. You have the colonial administrators. How about the ADF just went out and enforced that in every office in Bamenda? The Ambazonian flag should be the only flag flying there because it is Ambazonia. No, they're not doing this. But they turn their gun to the civilians who are already bearing the brunt of this war for 8 years. And the enemy goes scot-free. They shut down Mbengui Road for how many years now? About 3 years. Civilians are not allowed to use it. But Cameroon officials, including their military, their police, their gendarmes, are allowed to use it. Think about this. So again, the so-called blue and white taxi color, the idea sounds good to me, but I think it's an idea that is still waiting for its time. Doug, over to you.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I think we all are shocked by the horrible pictures that you have just put on the screen, and to me, it's just unfortunate. And you remember that some weeks ago, when we had you invited us to this program, I made a statement, and I said that allowing this taxi color thing to go operational will force the population with their backs against the wall to try to kick back. Because even a goat, when put in a difficult situation, will bite. Yes, the goat will forget that it has horns. Yes. So, and I think that this is the stage we do not want this thing to get to. Because our fighters, brave men, brave young men who have sacrificed so much to to stand up against the oppressor, are supposed to be defending our people. And again, it points to a critical dysfunctionality in the way our struggle has been managed so far. Because when you look at it, there is still a cast of individuals who try to appropriate to themselves the liberation movement. I think you will remember that between August and November last year, we conducted a survey and we spoke to a lot of our countrymen. And one of the things that we realized was that our people were getting a kind of exasperated, with the manner in which our liberation struggle was being prosecuted. Some were really disgusted, but all of them expressed their desire to be free, but wondered whether this was the approach that would deliver freedom. And I think that it's unfortunate that instead of readjusting our strategy, we are instead escalating it. Yes, we are escalating the situation, and we are causing young men, our fighters, to die unnecessarily. You must also realize that we have infiltrations among us who have made this whole thing a big issue. Because recently I was told that even the mayor of the Bamenda Urban Council has his own Amber Boys.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
of course.
yes, he has his own Amber Boys who go around terrorizing people and who are also trying to enforce this taxi ban because the chaos in itself, benefits them. So I spoke with someone this morning who called me and lamented the whole situation, and I think that our people are saying that they want their total and unconditional freedom, but they disagree with the manner in which this liberation struggle is being prosecuted. And I think that some of these issues will be addressed when the leaders meet sometime next month to in their summit, which we will come to that probably in a later program if you would give us the opportunity to talk about the leadership summit that is coming, so that individuals don't go out on their own and make rules without clear thinking, without analyzing the security situation, and without making sure that what they are actually doing has priority at that particular moment. It is like building a house. It is like starting with the roof. You are building a house and starting with the roof. That unfortunately will not really work because the foundation eventually will have a problem. So um, I think from uh, uh, the standpoint of uh, the desire for success, we our, it is. I think one can only urge those who are propagating this taxi color thing to tone down. And you remember that we talked about the cost of changing taxi colors and the incidence on the economic life of families and those who have these taxis. Many of these young men are just struggling to eke out a living, and you realize that for somebody who makes about 15, 16,000 francs a day, plying his taxi on those bad roads in Bamenda, he ends up in the garage at times once or twice a day. If you look carefully, if you find out, they'll tell you that in a day, a taxi driver might, will have to change some parts of his car. If you see the area in Front Street, somebody sent me a video, say, see the number of taxis that are in the garage because of the bad roads. We have to repair our taxis. In one day, you can spend about 3, 4 thousand, to repair your taxi. And then by the time you have a few passengers, you have to give the owner of the taxi some money, and then go home with a few dimes for you and your family. Now, if you have to change the color of this taxi, it's going to cost you at least 120,000.
Yeah.
You need to find out. It's going to cost at least 120,000. For somebody who makes 12,000 francs daily, 120,000 is 10 days work. It's 10 days work. Now, what do the families eat during the 6 or 7 days that the car is going to be in the garage? Because yours, when you bring yours to the garage, the guy doing the paint work will normally not tell you that go come back on Tuesday. He doesn't want to miss that job. So he will line up the vehicles and they'll start all at the same time. They have to sandpaper the paint, prime it, then paint it, then allow it to dry. And with the rainy season, they have to keep it for maybe an extra day. So all that can take up to a week. So who fits the families of these people? This is another, this is an entirely different ball game. So I think that when we take certain decisions, it's important that we sit down, we rub our minds together and ask ourselves, what is the benefit of this particular move that we are about to take? How is it going to benefit our people? How is it going to push forward our liberation movement? And then on that basis of points for and points against, we should be able to take a decision that will not hurt our people, because right now our people are choking.
Well, I think you make a very critical point there, something that has been very lacking from this struggle from day number one. But this has always been so peculiar with the ADF. This is one group that thinks that it has to be them or nobody. And so you can consult with us, but we don't need to consult with you because we are the custodians of this revolution. I am the leader of the revolution. I have never seen people elevate their egos so high to the extent of thinking that this thing is just about them, and if it is not about them, you forget, you don't matter, and so on and so forth. But let me get to Comrade Chaps and get your take on this disturbing issue, sir.
Me, Comrade Chris, and greetings to Dr. Fontaine. I think Dr. Fontaine succinctly explained everything that needs to be explained on this. I would add that that is the reason why we've put in place the consultative process to avoid issues like this. And I take note of the fact that you've raised that this is just one group. But I think Ambazonians will need to learn how to consult with each other. And it's not for lack of knowing or understanding the importance of consultations, but I think that that this issue makes it even more concrete. Two things: best interest. In your opening monologue, you talked about best interest. That is a very important thing. Best interest of our people. That is why we are in this fight. The best interest of our nation, the best interest of our people. And we also have the public interest. And so when you set out to make policy, you need to consider these two things. Further, you have to consider the fact that there should be a realistic prospect of success of any policy that you set out to make. Else it's a waste of time. And so that is what the consultation allows you and the other stakeholders to reflect on, to think about the public interest, to think about the best interests of our people, to think about the realistic prospect of success. You don't want to embark on a policy that might only end up having a 40, 30, or 20% success rate. Then that means it's a failure. So these are all the considerations that need to be made so that when you embark on a policy, you are ensuring that it has the best outcomes. And so in this scenario, I think that we need to just hearken to the words and to the wisdom that Dr. Fontaine has laid out in terms of how we need to start going about these things. And I know we're talking about a particular group, but this needs to be said out loud for all Ambazonians to hear.
Absolutely. We have to continue to put this message out, and just to make sure that this settle downs in the mind of everybody on ground zero. I listened to a message that somebody forwarded to me from ground zero today, and he said to me, right now in Bamenda is like almost everybody is locked down, not because today is Monday, but they are locked down because of a regular ghost town, but a good chunk of others are wondering what they will wake up tomorrow to face from these boys who are carrying guns. What advice would you give to the people in the face of this intimidation? Dr. Neba.
Well, Comrade Chris, that's just exactly my fear. How do our people wake up tomorrow in the face of this intimidation? And, there's going to be, I fear that whatever thing I'm going to say is going to be a dire prediction. And our people, when faced with their backs against the wall, are going to fight back. They don't care who they are fighting. That's one thing that we don't yet know about the resilient Southern Cameroon spirit. Because you don't know how these fighters who died and were burnt, how they got killed. If you find out, you may realize that it is somebody who spotted them and alerted our enemy. And now, when our people have to recourse to using our enemy to resolve internal problems,
Right.
to me, it's a big problem. It's a big issue. And all this starts because of the egotistic drive for supremacy. Because we don't yet have a country of our own. We are still fighting to reclaim our country that has been colonized by another country. And people are already declaring themselves, and making rules and fixing rules without, it's rules at times that rules which for the most part even end up injuring our own people. The problem is not, we're not going to have the freedom by the gravity of the injury that we inflict on ourselves. We're not going, that's not how we're going to have it. We're going to have the freedom through a careful, well-organized process that will make our people to realize and envision the kind of country they're going to live in. Because right now, these young men who have lost their lives, and the other people whose cars were destroyed, and many other people who have died, all this is just needless. So my fear is that we are heading for a situation whereby anywhere you see a fighter moving on the streets, the La Republique military is going to be called in. And that is the danger now. That
La
is the
Republique
danger
military
now.
is going to do what?
What I'm saying is that we are heading towards a situation where our people, just like in this particular case, are likely going to be calling on the Republic military to come in and play the savior in a crisis situation that they have created.
Right.
And so, La Republique, this is definitely going to be a public relations stunt. It's a public relations stunt for La Republique. But we have created it. We have created it. So I think that the fighters should take a moral high ground and look at this issue and tell themselves that our target is not our people. The economic life of our people, for our people to sustain this fight, we must not we must not ruin their economic life. The target is the La Republique economy, not our people's local economy. When you cannot make that clear distinction, then we are definitely, it's a slippery slope that will be difficult to overcome. So
Comrade
my
Chaps,
appeal.
this is a situation you will believe that La Republique has been looking for a situation like this one where they either fold their hands and let the civilians be tortured, be killed, be intimidated, so that they can now come in looking like the good guys, as Dr. Fontaine says, or they use the opportunity to say, hey, Amba fighting, Amba, as they always would like to say, thanks to Cho Ayaba and the ADF. Is that not the scenario you are looking at? The scenario you are looking at here? Because we may actually be thinking, oh, La Republique is going to go out and fish out civilians. Will expose the hideout of these thugs, so-called ADF, and La Republique will go out fishing for them. La Republique may just fold their hands and stay and sit down and say they are doing our job, because they know that the population can only handle this for a certain period of time. And if it goes on for long, guess who the population turns against? Not against La Republique du Cameroon army people, but against Ambazonia fighters and the struggle at large.
Absolutely. And that is why, as Dr. Fontem has indicated, we need to be very careful in how we do this. In fact, I would say that that the proponents of this policy should stand down. And standing down in the face of criticism, legitimate criticism, is not a sign of weakness. And that is one of the things that people fail to understand. You can stand down and recalibrate, like we've discussed here. Consultations, proper consultations in good faith is what is going to serve us with the guide that can take care of the public interest and the best interest of our people. And standing down in this scenario, having heard the cries of the people, having heard the voices of other stakeholders who don't think this is the right idea at this time, I don't think will be a sign of weakness. It will be humility, but it will be humility that leads to a constructive, solution driven outcome. And that is what this struggle is all about. We did not get into this liberation struggle because we just wanted to run around. We got into this liberation struggle because we wanted solutions to a problem that has afflicted our people for 60 plus years. And so, in the midst of the liberation struggle, we cannot continue to make decisions that continue to afflict our people. I know you're coming to this subject, but I'll use it as an example in this scenario. The president of Kenya, and speaking about the financial bill that was passed, he did what? Criticize him, take a different position, fair game. But you cannot deny that he did what you would expect of any reasonable leader to do in the face of those kinds of circumstances. He stood down. He stood down in humility. He accepted it. He consulted with his people and advised them of the reasons why they are standing down, despite the fact that there were other external pressures and other things. But he took that by the cheek, and that serves the people well. So I think there are lessons that could be learned from there. We're coming to that. But I just wanted to cite that to say that in this case, it is better late than never, and it is never too late to do the right thing. So I would
Exactly.
say that standing down would be a quick fix to the problem, because without that, then we enter into a scenario like you just described in setting up the question, which is we know La Republic very well. They are masters of divide and conquer. They seek every and any opportunity to divide us, to bastardize us, to undermine the dignity of our people, and to subjugate and conquer us. So this is a gift horse in the back, and they will do whatever they do best to pursue that divide and conquer strategy. So I think the best way we can address this at this time, let the proponents stand down, take it in humility. That might be more welcome than what is going on currently.
Yes. And I think that from what Comrade Chaps has said, probably we need to look at the reason why um, we are at war today. You remember that when Southern Cameroon's civil society organizations made demands to La République du Cameroon requesting for fundamental changes in the way we were treated in education, in law, in business, and so on. La République doubled down. They played their normal hanky panky, arrested a few people, turned around, arrested innocent civilians, broke into people's houses and took them out. And at some point, the people had to reach for their own means of self defense. So we don't want to get into a situation where our people will want to met out onto the liberation movement the same treatment they gave the La Republique government. So I think that what we are here, this is a kind of South Sudan scenario. Yes, it's a kind of South Sudan scenario, and we have to be very, very careful. I was making an appeal, and I'm appealing very strongly to the 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 groups and the organizations that are behind this unfortunate decision. In fact, I urge them to stand down. It will be in our own interest, in the interest of the liberation movement, and the interest of those who are masterminding it.
Well, I hope that they hear your voices and those of others, especially on the ground, who are very much completely against what they are trying to do. But for as long as I am here, comrades, whatever that I can do, we have lost so many people. You all know that. We have our families in jail back on the ground. Some of you seated on, I mean, all of you seated on this screen, you cannot go back to ground zero. You can't. They will kill you. So,
Overnight.
we're not going to allow some rooks to mess what all of us have fought for the past 7 years and counting. And if anybody is folding his or her hands and hoping that it just turned out to be whatever way they want, I mean, what these rook guys are doing. No, I'm not one of those who will fold my hands and sit and say, let them have their way until whatever. No, we're not going to see that happen. And one appeal that I will make to the other fighters on the ground: we have great fighters on the ground. The great powers, the grand powers in Bali and all over the place. The warriors in Bui. The guys of the Olive Bro in the Ngo Ketunjia, in Manu, in the BLM. I mean, these guys do a great job, and I think it will be also injustice for us to sit quiet and see the sacrifices of these ones go in vain. I give you guys the last word on this segment, then we'll get to the next subject.
Well, I think we've spoken extensively on the issue. Uh, some of the most of the problems that we have had in this liberation struggle are self-inflicted, and I think that this issue of the change of taxi color is another self-inflicted wound, because when you look at these gentlemen who have died, and if you look at these gentlemen who have died, if you look at these gentlemen who have died, you will know that the issue that we could have avoided this situation. So we are appealing again that wisdom is profitable to direct. Yes. If this was not part of the vision, it is important that we stick to the vision, so that our people will not our people will not continue to despair, because right now so many people are despaired, and so many people are in despair, and what we are struggling to do is to make sure that we sustain their spirit, reassure them, and tell them that we are on course and that we will get to the promised land sooner than later.
Chaps, go on and make your last point on this subject, please.
Yes, I agree with all that has been said. I think the appeal is that we have been in this process for the last 7 years and counting. We've witnessed a lot of own goals that we have scored on our side. And so at this critical stage, it is important for us to begin to use some of the tools that have come out of the reflections that we've had about the last 7 years. And one of the tools that has come forward is the idea and the process of consulting, reflecting, being objective, making sure that the best interest of our people is at the fore, and that the public interest is what we project, and that we have a realistic prospect of success in any venture that falls within the vision that we set out to undertake. So let us step back, take a breather. Let us be humble. Humility never killed anybody. And so, no matter what is going to be said, humility never killed anybody. And so, this is a moment where I think people can take a little dose of humility and stand down and let us recalibrate about the things that would make the lives of our people better.
All right. Thank you. Please stay put in there. We're not done with this subject yet. When we open the phone lines, we would love to hear what Ground Zero is thinking of, especially Bamenda. So please stay put. When we come back, we will take you to Kenya, to find out what is happening there and what that means to all of us in this struggle for Ambazonia's independence and Africa at large. What example, what lessons do we learn from Kenya? Please stay put. I'll be back in seconds.
On my own behalf, and on behalf of these members and many other Kenyans, I send my condolences to the families of those who lost their loved ones in this very unfortunate manner. Consequently, having reflected on the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill 2024, and listening keenly to the people of Kenya who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 Finance Bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn. And I have agreed with these members that that becomes our collective position.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the president of Kenya, conceding to the 2024 finance bill that led to the outpouring on the streets of Nairobi, Kenya, demanding that the bill be withdrawn. And right now the bill has been withdrawn, but the people are now demanding the resignation of the president, William Ruto, whom you saw there. At this moment, I'd like to bring you my monologue for this subject
behalf,
of Kenya, the lessons that
and on behalf of this
all of us, not just in Ambazonia, even in Cameroon and all the dictatorships in Africa,
in this very
what are they able to learn?
Manner.
What are they able to learn
Consequently,
from it?
having
That is the subject of
on the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill
to you today. That is the subject of the monologue that I bring to you today. So give me a few minutes. Let the technicians get the scripts running here. All right. But again, what has happened in Kenya, I think, has a huge lesson for all of us who are struggling to free ourselves, and those who are leaders, anywhere in Africa. Kenya's Finance Bill 2024 has generated significant debate and opposition, both in the public sphere and within political circles within and out of Africa. The bill introduced by the Kenyan government was aimed at addressing economic challenges, enhancing revenue collection, and streamlining public finance management. However, several contentious provisions sparked widespread opposition and protests across the country against the bill. What were the main provisions of the bill? Number one, the Digital Service Tax, DST bill. The bill proposed a 3% tax hike on the gross transaction value of digital services provided within Kenya. This targeted both local and international digital service providers. Number two, a new tax on luxury items such as high-end cars, jewelry, and electronics. This aimed to target the affluent population and to increase revenue from non-essential goods. Number three, an environmental tax or levy on plastic products to combat pollution and promote sustainable practices. Number four, a 1.5% tax on gross salary for all employees to fund what they call affordable housing projects. And then there was a value-added tax, the VAT, increase in the VAT on essential goods from 14 to 16%, including fuel, that is gas, which was expected to have a ripple effect on the cost of living. Then there was also a rise in income tax for the top earners. And then an increment on excise duties for alcohol, tobacco, and surgery, beverages, aimed at curbing consumption and generating additional revenue. In spite of the good intentions of the bill, the finance bill, it has faced significant backlash from the people of Kenya, leading to widespread protests, shootings, a toll of killings, at least 22 people dead so far, looting and destruction of property. Kenyans argue that the proposed increase in VAT, value-added tax, on essential goods, particularly gas or fuel, will exacerbate the already high cost of living, making basic necessities unaffordable for the less privileged. The increase in excise duty on alcohol and tobacco has also been criticized, with many seeing it as an additional burden on the poor, the consumers. The digital service tax has raised concerns among digital entrepreneurs, internet providers, internet services, and international tech companies operating in Kenya too. They argue that the tax will stifle innovation and make digital services more expensive for the common man. Local startups fear that they fear that the DST tax will create an uneven playing field, as they may struggle to compete with larger international companies that can absorb the additional costs. The introduction of the housing levy has been particularly contentious among the people in Kenya. Employees and trade unions argue that the levy is an additional tax burden on workers, many of whom are already struggling with high living costs. There are also concerns about the transparency and effectiveness of the housing projects that were to be funded by these taxes, with skepticism about whether the funds would be used efficiently and for their intended purposes. Why the luxury goods tax targets the affluent, the rich, the powerful, It has been opposed by Kenyans and businesses in the luxury sector. They argue that it will reduce sales and hurt their revenues. Critics also argue that the tax is discriminatory and may lead to tax evasion and smuggling of luxury goods. The finance bill has not only faced public opposition, but has also divided political opinion in Kenya. Key points of political contention include lack of consultation. Opposition parties and civil society groups have criticized the government for the lack of consultation and public participation in drafting the bill. They argue that the bill was rushed through Parliament without adequate input from stakeholders, that means the civil society. Some politicians argue that the bill's provisions, particularly the new taxes, will stifle economic growth by reducing disposable income and increasing the cost of doing business in Kenya. There are equally concerns that the bill may discourage foreign investment, as higher taxes could make Kenya a less attractive investment destination. The opposition has argued that the bill disproportionately impacts the poor and middle class, while the powerful, the wealthy, may find ways to avoid or minimize their tax liability. There are calls for more progressive tax reforms that ensure the burden is shared more equitably across different income groups in the country. In response to the opposition and the protests, the Kenyan government first defended the bill viciously or vigorously before coming out days later to do a complete withdrawal of the bill as more tensions mounted. The reversal of the bill by President William Ruto, following intense public opposition and protests, should stand as a remarkable instance of the power of the people and collective action in a democratic society. This event underscores the principle that when people rise up to challenge their government and their leaders' policies, they can indeed effect meaningful change. The Kenyan experience should serve as a pointer, a powerful lesson for other African countries. And a good example is La République du Cameroon, where only a few days ago, hikes in prices for stamps, passports, ID cards, fuel and taxi fares have placed significant burdens on the people. It is a call to action for Cameroon citizens, La République citizens, to move beyond passive lamentation and actively engage in shaping their economic realities and destiny. When people rise up to challenge their leaders and government, they exercise a fundamental democratic right. This act of defiance and demand for accountability is crucial in maintaining a balanced and just society anywhere in the world. It ensures that those in power remain responsive to the needs and concerns of the citizens they govern. The situation in Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, with recent hikes in prices for essential documents and services, parallels the economic challenges faced by Kenyans. Cameroonians, like many other African citizens, are grappling with an increasing cost of living and economic policies that seem to favor the wealthy and the powerful. Thanks to the Ambazonian War of Independence, they have sustained to enrich themselves and enrich their families. The Kenyan example offers several lessons. It is not enough, never enough, to stay home and lament high cost of living and unfair policies. Never enough. Citizens must actively engage in peaceful protests, demonstrations, and other forms of civic action to make their voices heard. Governments must be held to account for their decisions and their actions. Citizens should demand transparency in how public funds are utilized and ensure that policies are fair and just. Different groups within society must unite around common causes like the Ambazonian cause. When citizens present a united front, their collective power can bring about significant change. And that change often requires sustained effort. Citizens must be prepared to persist in their demands and not be easily dissuaded by setbacks. That is my talking point. Let me get back to my panel. Dr. Neighbor, I start with you again. I believe you have been listening and reading and watching what's going on in Kenya. First of all, I think we will all give the President of Kenya, William Ruto, thumbs up for taking the courage to come face the people to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I am withdrawing this bill in its entirety. Isn't it?
Exactly, Comrade Chris. I think I concede. I concede is not quite an easy word
Yeah.
or an easy expression from
Especially
a
for
politician.
politicians.
Yes, for a politician. And I think when these things happened, let us be very honest that President Ruto was, many of us put our bet on President Ruto, and we believe that he was going to do a lot for the Kenyan people. You have been following the way he talks, the way he spoke when he was invited to France, when he held the environmental summit in Kenya, and he's been everywhere. He addressed the African Union Parliament. He gave a lot of promise. He had a lot of promise, and suddenly there was this boom, and things just turned upside down. And but when you look at that bill, there was an allocation, or the appropriation bill allocated up to several hundreds of millions of shillings for the office of the first lady, the second lady, and the vice president, but which are not elected offices. And so the Kenyan people say, no, you cannot be taxing us to give money to people who are going to waste it on frivolous expenditure. So these offices are not elected offices. These are just people who are riding on the president's ticket, and we cannot be paying such huge taxes. And the people are saying, take those taxes and use them to recruit primary school teachers, build schools, take the money that would have been allocated for the first lady and vice president and the vice president's wife to employ doctors and so on, because our people don't have enough healthcare facilities. Then the Kenyans also believe that they do not have a representative democracy. And they have made it abundantly clear that those who are for this bill to have gone through parliament meant that the people they elected to represent them were not doing their job. And it explains why the furore has persisted for this day, over this length of time. But we must also extol the discipline of the Kenyan youth, because although they are everywhere, you see them, they are not destroying. They are not destroying. And if you saw them burn parts of the parliament building, it was because the army actually started shooting before the people, when the people were just still protesting peacefully. And you see that ever since that unfortunate incident where they burnt parliament, they've been going around, meandering along around the buildings, and they have not destroyed anything. So it is you cannot achieve your goal without discipline. And I think that this the Gen Z of the Kenyan generation Z have displayed a significant discipline. Um, it's also important to recall that 1/3 of the population of Kenya lives in abject poverty, a population which has 80% of which is below 35. So you now understand why, one can easily understand why most of this is, the young people who are jobless, the motorbike riders, and all those who think that this bill was meant to asphyxiate them. So you see that in Africa, there are young men who in their 30s still live in their father's house. It's an unfortunate situation. Then there's also the housing tax, which was instituted last year. The housing tax, which was instituted last year, has been kind of a yoke on the necks of the Kenyans. Now, one thing that the Kenyans are doing, which I don't think La République du Cameroon citizens are seeing, is that they have stood their ground and they have insisted that although the president has admitted that he made a mistake, he should still step down. Now, the reason why they're asking him to step down is not only because of the disappointment that the people feel for what Ruto has done, but it is also because there is a lot of cronyism. They discovered that there are a lot of fraudulent businesses, which these taxes are supposed to benefit. And they realize that, the president has indulged in a kind of cronyism. So one of the reasons why he is quickly backing down is to avoid this thing going ahead and risk further exposure. There are other things that are going to come up. So and even the land issue, the Kenyans have been there has been a rumble in Kenya over land. Suddenly the government passed a bill, declaring that certain lands, the government could expropriate people's lands at short notice, and so on and so forth. So there are lots of things that are coming on, and I think that President Ruto has only acted quickly to save his ship from sinking. But we wonder how far this is going to go, because the Kenyan youth seems to be determined. And today I heard a number of announcements that Uganda was going to follow, and other countries in Africa were also setting their own calendar for protests, because an older generation has taken their countries hostage, and the people are living in poverty. They don't care about them. They are taxing them, and nobody bothers about how they live. So the days ahead may really be troublesome.
You may be muted. You are muted.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. So I made reference to the recent hikes in the Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, recent hikes in gas prices, cost of ID cards, cost of passports, and other services. And you hear all the lamentation on the social media from a lot of applicants, and you will think that they will take action just as the Kenyans have done. But no, you don't hear it. Do you think that given the political transition that is coming up in that country, they will seize the opportunity to say, this is our moment to, like in Tanzania, is it Tanzania? No, Senegal. Like in Senegal, like in Kenya, you see that happening.
Yes, Comrade Chris, that before I come to that question, let me let me just take a moment to reflect some of what the lessons Kenya has taught us, and Dr. Fontana has spoken extensively about that. Two things. It is the rule of law. We want countries that subscribe to the rule of law. And what we have seen there is a rare display of the fact that everybody is equal under the law. And because of the protections afforded by the rule of law, we have things like free speech, the right to association, the right to protest peacefully, and to raise opposition to things that people don't agree with in a constructive manner so that there can be dialogue. Because the only way to have the best outcomes for the nation and people is to play into the exercise or engage in the exercise of constitutionalism. And what does constitutionalism stand for as its prime proponent? It's the rule of law. And under that, a very famous political theorist, Nedelsky, says that dialogue is an exercise in constitutionalism. And so I say this to say that if the Cameroonian situation, La République du Cameroon situation, was a situation where the rule of law existed, then citizens will feel empowered to be able to engage in that constitutional dialogue, to be able to use the avenues provided and protected under the Constitution, such as the freedom of expression, the freedom to associate, peaceful protest, to be able to raise their voices and show their dissent to the government about the things that they don't like. And subsequently, the government would find mechanisms to respond to the people's demands. And in that exercise, that is what I think Nedelsky says democratic dialogue in that manner is an exercise in constitutionalism. And so any government that subscribes to the rule of law would understand this and would understand that this is an engagement with the people that can lead to better outcomes, greater legitimacy for the government, and a happy people in a happy country. And so we hope that the people in La République du Cameroon, despite the fact that that government has proven time and time again that they do not subscribe to the rule of law, even though they claim it, and that the constitutionalism that they talk about is it's a mere parody of what constitutionalism should be. I'm hoping that despite these things, the people in La République du Cameroon would take a page of hope out of what happened in Kenya and begin such an exercise rather than simply lamenting the woes and waiting for time and hoping that somehow it's going to go away. It is not going to go away. It is going to continue. And so that is why the people of Ambazonia had enough. We had attempted this exercise many years before we got to 2016 on several occasions. If you're talking about the AACs, you go as far back as even in 1961 when there was dissent around how we were going to make concrete the resolutions that came out of the UN and the eventual agreement that we would form some kind of a federation. So these things are things that we had done until the point where we saw that it was an exercise in vanity. And therefore, the people decided that they had had enough and they were going to take another option, which is defending themselves and taking back control of their territory through the use of force. And so, if the people of La République du Cameroon take a page out of Kenya, they should also take a page out of Ambazonia to guide them in how they can stand up and count for themselves and make themselves count.
Totally agree with you that the country lacks the rule of law, but we also have those laws, in the books, and which is why you have people like Abdul Karim saying, if the books say, if the laws say, I am a Southern Cameroon citizen, then there is no jurisdiction for me to be tried under the laws of La République du Cameroon. He is essentially taking it by the horns. We are looking for a situation where citizens of La République du Cameroon will say, this country has some laws and some regulations, and if you are not ready to exercise them, we will take it by force. This is what we're looking out for, Dr. Deba.
I'm always very pessimistic. I'm always very pessimistic about La Republic citizens because they are not only cowardly, they talk a lot, but they are not ready to take it to the streets because every time they have taken to the streets for even very peaceful marches, La Republique has, stamped out their protests with barbaric severity. So, and the fact that people like Bibu Nisak and others are still in prison is kind of, sending chills down some people's spines. But I think that now La Republique has its back against the wall. They don't have money. And one of the reasons why Kenya found itself in this situation, and which is what is La Republique is gradually rolling into that same situation, is that Kenya has a debt of 82 billion in a country that has a GDP of 110 billion. That's about 88% of their GDP. That is too bad. That is even by IMF and World Bank standards. That is too bad. And the bad thing, like in La Republique, most of the loans are mismanaged. Much of the money that the Kenyan government has taken as loans has been mismanaged. And there is patented corruption, inflation, and even inflated bills. You know that in La Republique, like they set up a number of projects, dams. There were dams that were supposed to be built, and over a number of years, those dams have not yet gone operational. But the price of those dams have quadrupled within that period. The prices of those dams have quadrupled within that period. So you have dams costing 400 and something billion. Dams that were initially, estimated to cost about, 50 something to 100 billion are now costing 400 and something billion. Where is the money going? People are stealing that money. La Republic citizens know that this money is being stolen, and, when you ask them, they'll tell you that over fair command, say not to pay. What can we do? And it buttresses that saying that I think it is this musician. There's a prominent musician in America, a La Republic musician who is here in America, who said that if they explain the situation of Cameroon to you and you understand it, it means it has not been properly explained. Yes, it means that anything that concerns Cameroon cannot be understood. And you see, the government of Cameroon has continued to take loans. And when you ask their citizens, they say it is our country. What are we going to do? How do you expect people with that mindset to be able to fight back and get what is theirs? I think it is for La Republic citizens to take the challenge and prove to us that they are ready to tackle their government once and for all. Because when it came to time, we told them enough was enough, and we decided to stand up to them. Some of us went to jail. We came out. Others have died. But Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians have vowed that they will never be second-class citizens again. And it is just a matter of time. This thing is going to end. So I think that La Republic citizens need to take the bull by the horns. Now, if you see one thing that La Republic is using, and which is what is making me to be pessimistic about their ability to stand up to their government, is that tribalism is so entrenched. In La Republique, no matter how good the device you set up to help the people, they always want to know, where does he come from? What is his interest? And so they are always at each other's throats. Oh, he's a northerner. They want to take power back. Oh, he's a Bamileke. These ones, they have money. Why are they asking for power? Oh, he's a Basa. These are the UPC people who destroyed this country. And so on and so forth. And so the government has created a very vicious device called entrenched tribal, institutionalized tribalism, to the extent that it has kept their citizens permanently divided. And let me also say that they have used it on several occasions in the against Southern Cameroonians, to good effect, because there are times that some people will tell you, "Oh, it is a Bayangi man. I will not take part." Oh, it is Oroko from Kumba. Oh, these Orokos from Dian. They are trying to overpower us Orokos from Kumba, and so people are at each other's throat over trivial issues when their existence is in peril. So I think that La Republic citizens will have to overcome these vices. Tribalism is a serious vice that has held that country bound. But I also want to look at the mystical side of things. I also want to look at the mystical side of things. You realize when Kamto came out and challenged the status quo at one time. The Betty ritualist came out, took his picture, and slaughtered chickens, slaughtered animals, did a coffin, and they did a ritual, and so on and so forth. We cannot underestimate the effect of these satanic rituals on La Republic citizens.
Well,
La Republic citizens.
doesn't every tribal group have something like that? If it were so, then the Kenyans would have been probably cursed to stay home and probably not do anything, right? I mean, we have
Well,
that
I think,
everywhere. We have been
but I
using,
think
our
fear,
guys have been
but I
using
think
Odenchi,
fear,
and yet
fear
the
is
war
also part
goes
of it.
on for 8 years.
Yes.
So it doesn't
No,
appear to
but I
me
think we
like
need
those
to
things,
raise it. We need to,
those
yeah, the
incantations really
fear.
do work.
Yeah, the fear of it is what is holding people bound. So the people need to realize that they have to stand up and fight those things, because when they see
Exactly. I
those
think that's the
mystical things,
solution.
they are afraid. They did it to us, but it did not work. Why? Because the people of Southern Cameroons at one point told them, say, to hell with this satanism, to hell with all these occultic practices, and they stood up and they clenched their fists and they went on the streets, and the situation has never been the same again. So I think that the people of La Republic citizens, particularly the youth who are crossing the Atlantic Ocean, in the Mediterranean Sea in droves, you know, should stand up and be able to face their government of old people, and tell them that enough is enough, because if they don't take it by force, they will never have it.
All right.
Yes.
All right. I don't know if Mark has anything to add there before we open the phone lines.
Yes. So just one couple points. So speaking about the Kenya scenario again, in an exercise in the constitutionality and the rule of law, I know there is a lot to criticize about Kenya and the way the government handled the situation. But it's also important that when we look at examples, because we talk about Ambazonia being, the new Jerusalem for that's the dream we have. Ambazonia is going to be a beacon of hope. And so we are also a very spiritual and faithful people. And that is part of
Yes.
the reason why we have been able to overcome some of the spiritual warfare on us. But again, when you look at Kenya, you have to look at what the High Court did. So before the president came out on June 29, the High Court in Kenya, and Kenya, we should say, has a robust judiciary. Again, those are some of the more positive elements about the country that can be emulated in others, as we were talking around Africa. They have a very robust judiciary. And the High Court made a judgment where they said that they pretty much condemned the security services use of force resulting in death, and it was widely condemned by the court, and they said that should not have happened. They further said that it should stop. They called for it to stop. But they also gave the government a little bit of a leeway because the government has now pulled back those security forces and brought in the military to maintain law and order. But what the court has said is they gave the government on June 29 2 days to present the plan for that military presence to maintain law and order. And that plan, they said, has to present the mechanisms for which they are going to use to ensure that there are no civilians who are put in harm's way and that no deaths occur. That is what we talk about constitutionalism, about a vibrant, robust democracy. So we're not saying that governments sometimes don't have to respond to situations that they deem might be a security risk, but the issue is how they respond to those situations. Is it within the confines of the law? Are they putting their citizens at risk by that response? And so that is something that we see. And similarly, as you said earlier on, with citizens continuing to call for Ruto's resignation, that is still part of democratic dialogue. He has conceded, but it doesn't mean that the citizens are not still free to continue to express their aspirations. And that is going to play out in a constitutional manner, whether it be at the ballot box when that time comes, or maybe he takes a further step and says, you know what, I am going to resign. But we'll see that play out. And so back to Cameroon, I think these are the lessons that we need. We've talked about the fact that Cameroon has been saying, I don't know who to talk to with respect to the Ambazonians. But we've made several efforts. We've always been present when a call for negotiations and dialogue has been called for, but Cameroon has been nowhere to be found. The government of Cameroon, that is. And so how do you operate? How do you imagine that citizens can engage with their government in that type of country? A government that refuses to talk to people that stand up and demand their rights be respected and attend several meetings to have a dialogue, in spite of the fact that a war is going on. They take the courage to sit down, to talk about it, to find solutions, and the government is the one that chickens out. So how do you expect anything worth any good to come out of that kind of a system? And that is why we have to fight this battle physically, spiritually, and La République du Cameroon citizens, if they think they have any chance of changing the trajectory of their country, they need to take a page, not just from Kenya, but from the Ambazonians.
All right. Well said, comrade. Let's do this. We're going to open the phone lines. We'd like to hear from our listeners. If you are anywhere on ground zero or in the diaspora, it is time for you to call in and let's hear what you are thinking about this discussion we are having here. The phone line is there on your screen. Before you call, make sure that you turn down the volume of your set before you call. Again, before you call, turn down the volume of your TV set so that the phone call is not delayed. The number is there on your screen. This has happened also in Nigeria, Dr. Neba. You remember the popular NSAS movement? Yeah. It was similar to what we saw or we see in Kenya, where Nigerians from all nooks and corners rose up against the federal government, against measures that were meant to make life difficult for the citizens. And the Nigerians poured out onto the streets, and the Nigerian government had no option but to also reverse some of the decisions they had taken. I really hope that the Republicans learn from what is happening just in their neighborhood. I'm talking about in West Africa, Burkina Faso, Kenya is in the east, Nigeria in the west, Guinea in the west, Mali in the west, and so on. I just hope they do. The phone line again is open. Go ahead and call. Let's know what you are thinking. Let's know what you are thinking. And if you cannot call, you want to text, the number is there on WhatsApp. You can do that through WhatsApp, please. All right. I will take a moment out and we'll come back and we'll continue with the phone calls.
You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were not hearing me there. All right. I'm sorry about that. Again, in the absence of any caller for the moment, we have been talking in the background about a possible big rally at the United Nations headquarters in New York in September. Not against Philemon Yang, but against the United Nations hypocrisy, because we know there is nothing that we do that is going to stop them sitting Philemon Yang as the president of, I think, the 79th General Assembly of that body. So we have been discussing about this, and we are appealing to Ambazonians from the DMV area to what we call the Mid-Atlantic, that is New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware axis, and of course, everywhere across the USA, if you are able to make it to New York for a rally to protest the United Nations accepting the candidacy of Philemon Yang as the president of the General Assembly, a position he will hold for 1 solid year. Not that that position is very important. He doesn't really have any powers to make decisions like they do in Cameroon single-handedly. Here at the United Nations, his voice means nothing, absolutely nothing. But we think that symbolically, what the United Nations has done is important. And we have to protest to let them know that we see their hypocrisy. We see their hypocrisy. Let me see. I think there's a caller here. Let's get to this caller first. Oh, no. We don't take video calls here, please. We take regular calls. You want to call on the direct line and not video. We do not take video calls. But again, we have to carry out this protest at the United Nations to protest the UN's hypocrisy that they know Cameroon, that is killing our citizens, is the one picked to come and sit at the UN General Assembly representing Africa. But not only that, the UN know Cameroon is killing Ambazonians. And they again accept the candidacy of this guy to come and sit there as if nothing is happening in that country. Why didn't a representative come from, say, Nigeria, or from South Africa, or from Kenya, or from Tanzania, or, any other country but Cameroon? Why not? So, Dr. Deba, I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, and let's sensitize the population a little bit.
Yes, it's important to understand the background of young Philemon getting to the United Nations as president of the General Assembly. Cameroon lobbied quite a lot at the level of the African Union and the African Union Parliament to have young Philemon go there, and it was done with the help of the French. So you would realize that with the conflict going on in the southern Cameroons, La République du Cameroun is anxious to show that the people of the southern Cameroons are not actually marginalized, or they are not actually being assimilated, or they are not being ill-treated as it is being made to understand. That is why they are sending young Philemon, and they are saying that, see, young Philemon is one of them, and you cannot claim that we don't treat them well when we can recommend and nominate them for president of the General Assembly. But we know that young Philemon sat there as prime minister when Southern Cameroonians, in their diversity, the different Southern Cameroons organizations which wrote and petitioned the prime minister's office, in 2016, they wrote asking for significant reforms, and young Philemon sat there. Personally, I remember that on behalf of the teacher unions, I mailed more than 6 protest letters to Minister Young Philemon,
Hello,
and
hold on. Dr. Neba, hold on a second. Let's get this caller, I guess, from Ground Zero, and then we'll get back to that. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Secretary Grace.
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Can you speak a little louder?
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
I'm calling from Ground Zero.
Yes, I can hear you. Go on, sir. Calling from Ground Zero. Go on.
Yeah, good evening, Secretary Grace.
Good evening, sir. What is your
Yeah,
what
I'm
is your
calling from Ground
contribution?
Zero, presiding from Bamenda.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to thank all of you on board, especially Dr. Fontaine, for me seeing him again today, for he has been abandoned since he was removed from jail. So I'm very happy to see him today at this platform, and I wish to talk with us, and especially to all those who have been making this our struggle to go backward. So, Secretary, please, can you allow me speak in pidgin?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can speak in pidgin. Go on.
Some of our colleagues
Yes,
to
please.
understand
Yes.
what we are passing through.
Go on. Go on in pidgin. Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Okay.
All right. Go on, sir. Go on.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Go on.
Hello.
I can hear you, sir. Go on. Go on.
What do you want to talk for our people? Let's say, me, all my people there, for Ground Zero, me don't understand what way it take on for this our country. Because, yeah, what you want to say, I want for let me my people them for Ground Zero. Me don't understand which way it take place. Because for which way would the Sam or the for Ground Zero would the Sam? It be that some very big sick. And at the big for all we wanna be now we leaders them for the country, for the our Ambaland, we wanna therefore outside. Say I can't beg, I take God name, I beg all say my papa them, my mommy them, wanna come to one agreement. Me wanna no begin. She don't have for different defense. We wanna come for one agreement with she don't for one table. Because I told you, wait there for hand.
Picking way there for Belen for all man. Okay.
Now what you worry we inside the country. So I can't take una bad. Them una take time.
I don't hear you. I don't hear you. I don't hear you. May I ask you a question? I don't hear you. Hold on. May I ask you a question? If you get disagreement with your neighbor and you really want for sit down, get a discussion with that neighbor, and you go knock your neighbor your door, it's a way till you can't find for here and only for talk for you. What you go do? You do on one time, you do on two time, you do on maybe three time. He say, I'm not gonna open my door to you. Wait till you go do. Because I don't hear the argument every time when I try be one. We all want to be one. It's the greatest idea where if it easily bring us to the end of this struggle, if we on our side, yes, will be one as you talk. But it be impossible. Because me and you, we know, say, even like the public, they pay some of our people where we consider them leaders for turnaround, do things where they hurt us like the Bamenda thing where they talk about. When you see things like what the way they happen for Bamenda, how you feel stand the support something like that, and the people where they lead them. So, yes, for B1, now the best thing where if it happen. But how do you get that? How you make it happen if the other party feels they don't need you? Go on. Hello?
Okay.
Yes, go on, go on.
It's very good as we talk. Yes. If you go knock door for your own person, yes, I'm meeting you. Yes. You don't talk me here. Me, I talk Dr. Fontaine and a brother for coming my house. As I talk, I'll be happy today to see because I'm not here call your name.
But you always see you always maybe you only think say we and me and Dr. Fontaine will only talk over this TV. We don't talk for a long time. All right. All right. Listen, the quality for your audio not be very good, but I think we don't hear you. Sorry, sir. The voice is very bad. Let's see who next is calling here. Oh, is it the same person? Let's see. Hello. Hello.
I want to contribute to your program.
Yes, can you talk a little louder? I can hear you. Where are you calling from, sir?
Yeah, I'm calling from London.
All right, and what is on your mind?
Yeah, you guys are talking about unity, and I want to contribute in the fact I heard the other callers and you were talking about unity. And to me, unity doesn't mean you agree on everything. Unity doesn't mean you belong in the same organization. It's about setting something. What do you want to do? What do you want to agree? You can disagree with people, but you come together and you agree on a particular point. The problem that the Anglophones are having, why they're fighting each other, is because somebody wants to be the boss of another person. That's different from unity. All other organizations on earth, they have differences, but they focus on a particular point. Then they come together and they agree. What do we want to do? Is it about this issue? They come together, they deal with it, then they go away. Everybody can lead an organization or a group. But when it comes to unity, let's forget about who is leading who. If we keep that aside and we focus on what do we want to do on certain things, then people will come together. That's unity. When somebody wants to impose leadership on somebody, it will never work. It has never happened in planet Earth.
You are very, very correct. And I guess this is Mola Lisenge Alex, right?
You're right.
Okay. You couldn't hide, so
Not
I
as
got
much.
the voice.
Not as much.
But you make a very vital point, something that we have tried here. Comrade Chaps, even Dr. Niba, you know, we have put down a certain draft that can get all of us working together with no group saying, oh, the interim government is domineering or the or AGOC is domineering or no, we draw a piece of paper. I mean, we draw some points and we put on the table and said, let's all come together. If we all agree, we can run with this plan, refine it, make it even better. Then we all own it and we run with it. Then what we do is we rotate the leadership, just as Molali Singh is saying. We rotate leadership maybe on a 6-month basis, maybe on in a 1-year basis. You don't need to dissolve your organization. I don't have to dissolve mine. But we all are pursuing the same goals and speaking the same language. So, Mola Lisenge, that has been done, sir. But you are right that the problem is that some people think that unity means they being on top of the ladder, which is the problem that we have.
Yeah, and you made another point which you made a point where it's cutting off my mind. You made another point, and we must still understand not everybody, if you make a point, not everybody needs to come together. When you make a point that is clear, there will always be opposition. That's
Correct.
how the world is. There are people who will not agree on, but if you have done what you did, but to me, to have perceived for a long time, people want to lead other people, it will not work. And everybody just need to know, oh, this is what we want to do, and we come together and people agree on certain things. Because at the end of the day, if you want to say you want to stop this person or not to do this, it will never work. And I'm sure we are agreeing on that part, but it doesn't stop people who agree on certain positive things to go ahead. Everybody cannot come together. It is difficult on this planet Earth. We can
Yeah,
never
absolutely.
agree all
That will
around.
never happen. We've
But
not
if
seen
there's
that in
something
any struggle.
positive, people will come and join you. That's
Right.
how I look at it.
Right,
If
thank
there's
you.
something positive, people come together.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate the point. Dr. Niba, any of you 50 seconds to comment on that?
Yes, yes, Comrade Chris, I think that some in the near future, we should be able to schedule a program if you would graciously give us the opportunity so that we can have a discussion on the work of we can have a broader discussion on the work of the Consultation Commission, because it's important for Southern Cameroonians to know what we have done and how far we have gone, and that incidentally there are a number of leaders who have agreed that they can work together, and I think you are one. You are one of them. I think it's fair to say that you are one of them who has made it abundantly clear that you are ready to work with other leaders in a team. And so we are organizing, the Consultation Commission is organizing a leadership summit in August, and the leaders will be invited to come to the leadership summit, where a number of principles contained in the framework will be discussed and agreed on, so that we can have a way of taking decisions by consensus, so that we will have fewer of the kind of mistakes that we are seeing on the ground, and that we will also have less infighting, and that we can also be able to think proactively and take measures to forestall some of the things that have been happening in our liberation struggle, which we have not been able to control because individuals are acting, people are acting individually and in a haphazard manner. So I think that we believe very, very strongly that the people can work together. Although we are also sure that not everybody is going to work together, but once you can put together the critical mass who believe that our struggle, our unity, our strength lies in our ability to work together, put our heads together, and take decisions, and have a procedure for doing things. Once we have an established process, we will not have the kind of situations where our fighters are dying needlessly. So maybe
All
Chaps
right.
can add something.
All right.
What
Hold your thought there, Comrade Chaps. Let's get to this caller here. Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Where are you calling from?
From Angola. Kalachi from Angola.
From Angola. Okay. All right. Go.
Angola, yes. Yes, I salute you, Mr. President. I say Kafede up, and I salute Mr. Fontem Neba and other concrete way they near you there. Yes, I want to say, make all of we will understand. May we understand, say, La Republic don't infiltrate some of these leaders inside this struggle. This one not, I think say some person know the doubt about this one. So, for just call man say leader, you know me say that man must be forcefully the good leader where we feel safe in this struggle. No. If we follow that one, we make mistake, great mistake. And they know they ever force somebody, make it come together with some people where they don't get the same opinion. Yes. Mr. Ayaba don't say make the paint taxi in white and blue, which this interim government don't get that same opinion. Mr. Ayaba don't go sign alliance with this Namji Kano, and he go Nigeria talk say if we refugees they stay for Nigeria and for divide Nigeria. That means he wants to force Nigeria, make Nigeria enter the war fight with the Republic, then fight us. If someone come talk say no, the refugees were there for your country, now for separate your country, means say you get to drive those refugees. Then we don't get that same, this interim government not get that same opinion with Mr. Ayaba. Ayaba is a whole doctor. I hear they call Ayaba Dr. Ayaba. I don't think it's something they will go golden Ayaba. Ayaba be denied for come together with Siseko. He denied for come together with Sako. So now, this interim government, Ayaba no fit still come together with this interim government. Ayaba, any person will join where they inside this struggle, Ayaba say na Johnny just come. Now he will start this struggle for 40 years with not achievement. Then all any I hear people they call left and right say we get for come together. How will come that get to it? Then if we not get some way where we not fit take Ayaba together with this struggle, we not fit tell we. Then we got the interim government act as we will not go talk. We know we come to talk say we come together where you know get some tactics where you feel use them, then make we come together. Because Ayaba don't tell we say no we come together with no person. So this coming together today, tomorrow, come together. Not only this interim government, but the call now make it come together, no? He to feel call some people say we will come together.
All right.
So if I don't go take something with the La Republic side, I don't know how we will come together with you. I don't want to take on a time, so time on a plenty.
All right.
I think so when I don't hear my opinion.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We hear you. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the call. Comrade Chaps, you want to make a point there?
Unmute him.
We're not hearing you.
Yes, sorry about that. Just building on what Dr. Fontem and some of the other callers have talked about. And I think, Comrade Chris, we have been this effort severally and in different forums and together for a long time on this journey of trying to bring a critical mass together. And I think we've gotten to the point where we have figured out how we're going to do it. And you know it because we have come to the point where we are making a decisive decision that we need to bring together those who are willing to work with each other on the points upon which they agree. And that is the formula. You have sounded that severally, others have sounded that, but we have struggled to make that come into fruition. They always say, if you build, they will come. And by the fruits, you shall know them. And so those two things go hand in hand. So the process that I think we are all working on, that is the consultative process, seeks to achieve just that. And I believe that given what we have done, including the contributions of all of us on this panel so far, is pointing that bright light in the right direction. And so, in very short time, I believe that our people will stop calling into ABS Africa and saying, come together, because they will see the fruits of those that have come together and they will know that it is a good thing. And those who have been tarrying will see the buildings, they will see that we have built, and they will come.
Absolutely, and that is just the fact. And I like people to know that, as the two of you have mentioned, we are working on something, and what we need is the critical mass, and not everybody. We will never get everybody going by what we see. But I think the critical mass that we are trying to put together becomes very, very important. So I like everybody on the ground to know that we are not giving up on unity and collaboration. We will continue to see we can make it to happen. And those who do not want to be part of it, we will get a critical mass that matters to be part of it. So, comrades, I'd like to thank you for coming on to be on the show with me. We are out of time. I look forward to having you back again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will call it a night here. I hope that this has been educative and illuminating too. I look forward to being back here by God's grace on Wednesday. So please stay tuned. And for you on Ground Zero, I learned that most of you in Bamenda are not having electricity, so you cannot watch this. But of course, we'll run this again and again so that those without electricity can have opportunity to watch it some other time. Thank you for staying put tonight. I look forward to seeing you next time. Good night.